Ganondorf. The Demon King has been the main antagonist for most of the Legend of Zelda series, and throughout Hyrule's long history. Whether in the form of the Gerudo King, the Beast Ganon, or as he's known in Breath of the Wild, the Calamity. He always seems to return after some time with the wrath on par with a god. In Breath of the Wild, it seems so much time has passed that the origin of the Calamity seems to have been forgotten. Only on the Breath of the Wind has a small piece of its origin been remembered. Once said that the Calamity took the form of a Gerudo, implying that the Calamity has come and gone for so long that it is looked at as the original evil, and that the history of the Gerudo King and the wars he's waged on Hyrule have been long forgotten, and that Ganondorf has ceased to exist, at least as he once was. But the trailer for the sequel to Breath of the Wild shows us different. Maybe he has been the source of the monstrous force of nature Ganon has become over the eras. But how? We've seen Ganon resurrected many times over, and we've seen Ganondorf sealed and return. But once the Gerudo King had perished, he had seemed to be gone for good. How is Ganondorf here and seemingly alive in the era of Breath of the Wild, which takes place well over 10,000 years since any appearance from the Gerudo King? Well, let's get right into it. But before we do, if you like theories, retrospectives, and all kinds of Zelda content, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any new Zelda content. Anyway, back to the video. Let's rewind for a second. Way back during Ocarina of Time, Ganondorf took his first shot at taking over Hyrule, and nearly succeeded. After a well-thought-out plot, and actually taking over Hyrule for himself while Link was locked away for 7 years, Link managed to fight his way through the temples, awaken the sages, and defeat Ganondorf. But he was only sealed away. The events after differ greatly depending on which timeline we follow. But inevitably, Ganondorf returns, in both timelines, the adult and the child. But in both timelines, this would be his final appearance. The hero of the wind buries a sword in his head, and he and the Master Sword are buried under the Great Sea. Ganondorf never returns. And in Twilight Princess, the hero of Twilight defeats him in one-on-one combat, and he dies standing up. No seal. Though the placement for Breath of the Wild is vague, and the answer Nintendo gives us is that it takes place at the end of all of it. Whether you take that as the timeline convergence, or Breath of the Wild as an inevitable event on all timelines, is irrelevant, because in both timelines, the man Ganondorf has perished. By the way, the Ganondorf in Four Swords was not the real deal. He was just a cheap knockoff. He wasn't the Ganondorf. Anyway, so how is he still alive in Breath of the Wild 2? And even if he was dead and was just resurrected in the events we see in the trailer, how did he get there after all this time? After so clearly dying in both timelines? Now, hold on a second. I know most people are going to tell me in the comments, well, it's because of the Curse of Demise, which sounds like the most obvious answer. But stick with me for a second. Demise's curse is definitely a factor in the resurrection of Ganondorf, but I'll get to that soon. But I forgot to mention the Fallen Hero timeline, which I think holds the key to how Ganondorf can still be a thing. Alive, or dead, or sealed, or mummified, resurrected, whatever theory you subscribe to. I know Ganondorf doesn't ever appear in any of the games in the Fallen timeline, so why would I say this is the timeline that matters? Well, in this timeline, Ganondorf kidnaps, or as Hyrule Historia puts it, quote, Ganondorf the Thief obtained the Triforce of Power and managed to get his hands on Princess Zelda. Then it goes on to say, the hero of time Link challenged him in battle that would determine Hyrule's very existence, and lost. At last, Ganondorf found himself in the possession of the Triforce of Wisdom that dwelt within Princess Zelda, and the Triforce of Courage that dwelt within Link. So, Ganondorf finally for once in the whole chronology of the series is in the possession of the whole Triforce. Now, in the events of Link to the Past, the seals begin to weaken and the Sacred Realm has become an evil and corrupted world with Ganon at the helm. So Link collects the Master Sword, travels to the Dark World, where he saves the descendants of the sages and beats a Ganon who possesses the full Triforce. Wow, not too shabby, Link. But even though Ganon was killed, instead of sealed away, he still manages to come back over and over again in this timeline afterwards. How can he manage to do this when in the other timelines where he was killed, we don't see him ever again? Besides the fact that Nintendo hasn't made another game in those timelines. Well, Ganon made a wish. In the A Link to the Past instruction manual, it says, "I do not know what he wished for from the Triforce. However, in time, evil power began to flow from the Golden Land. And that's what turned him into Ganon, and turned the Dark World into the twisted mirror version of Hyrule. And it was pretty clear he wanted to take over everything. And the Dark World was slowly leaking into Hyrule, and would eventually become like the Dark World if Link didn't intervene." While exploring the Dark World in A Link to the Past, you can find trees that were once human and have been transformed. They tell you useful information and the rumors they have overheard over the course of being stuck as a tree for hundreds of years, according to them. And everything they tell you ends up being true, usually hints about the game, but one of them tells you about how Ganon's wish turned the Sacred Realm into the Dark World. Then he goes on to speculate that Ganon wished to rule all the cosmos. That's a pretty heavy wish. And the Triforce is all-powerful, so I believe that beyond turning him into the Demon King Ganon, beyond turning the Golden Realm into the Dark World and the eventual takeover of Hyrule when the seal completely broke, that a wish like that not only played a part in his revival over and over in this timeline, but through the whole cosmos, meaning through time and space. I believe the wish could have affected all timelines, and regardless which Ganondorf or how you view the placement of Breath of the Wild, that's how he's able to be there as Ganondorf. Now, back to the Curse of Demise. If we look at the history of Hyrule, timeline splits and all, in certain eras, maybe it's possible other evil entities manifest in the absence of Ganondorf due to Demise's curse. And after Ganondorf is killed, it seems to manifest in other evil beings like Bellum and Malladus. Because if you notice in the Downfall timeline, we get many resurrections of Ganon, but a lot of those resurrections were other evil beings resurrecting him for more power, to join with him, or just for chaos. Twinrova, Yuga, and Zelda 2, his followers were trying to kill Link and use his blood to resurrect him. That's metal as f***. But I think this wish concretely makes him the main force of evil for Demise's curse to call upon, whether he was sealed or completely destroyed, over and over and over again, till the end of time. But that's just a theory. Hey, thanks for watching the video. What did you think of this theory? Do you have any ideas of how Ganondorf is back in Breath of the Wild 2? Let me know in the comments, and if you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any new Zelda theories like this one. I'm actually setting up something very cool for Zelda's 35th birthday. It's a surprise. Something you don't want to miss though. So make sure you look out for the next video. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and see you later.